Good morning, Ultimate Baby Sleep Group. How are you all doing? Give me a sec here to get situated and pull everything up over here on my computer. Let's see. Now, there have been a lot of questions. I've been getting a lot of questions, a lot of messages about Batya. When do you do your videos in the Ultimate Baby Sleep Group? A lot of you have been messaging me and asking me when to expect it, and until now I haven't really been able to answer you because things have been a little bit wonky for me. Oh, one sec, my computer's being funny. I have to just quickly plug this in. Okay, so when push comes to shove though, I'm super excited to finally have consistency. So, just to recap the different ways we help you here in this group, and then I'm going to tell you when you can know I'm going to be here most days because I finally got it nailed into my calendar, assuming no one's home with me and nothing funky is happening. Way number one we help you in this group is when you use hashtag SleepQ, I come in with my daily Q's and coffees video, which I'm going to tell you what time to expect. Number two, we have our baby sleep show every Monday and Wednesday morning here in the group at 10 a.m. EST. Third way is our Monday topic thread, which I'm going to be answering today. Now, things have been a little crazy. Sometimes I come in the afternoon, sometimes in the evening, which is fine. But I know a lot of you like to just know when to expect me. If you want to ask me a question, and it's not necessarily the baby sleep show time and you can't make it, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm going to be in here. Most days I'm going to try my best. I can't say for sure because things come up. I'm going to try to come in here every single day at 10 a.m. EST. Mondays and Wednesdays, 10 a.m. EST is going to be the baby sleep show. Tuesdays and Thursdays, probably going to be hashtag SleepQ. Fridays will probably be answering the Monday question thread. So if you want to get the rundown of how it's going to go, because a lot of you have asked me, Batya, I don't know when you're doing the sleep show. I don't know when you're answering my hashtag SleepQ. What time are you coming in? What day? Let's just ease the confusion. Every single day at 10 a.m. EST, I'm going to do my best to be in here and doing a video. Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. EST will be the baby sleep show. The other days will be Q's and coffee, hashtag SleepQ, or answering the Monday question thread. And I'm drinking coffee now. So that is just to clear it all up so you know. So if you want to ask me a question live and you can't necessarily call into the baby sleep show Mondays and Wednesdays, expect me here in the group at 10 a.m. EST, Mondays through Fridays. Might come in a little extra. And of course, there'll be days where I won't make it, but I'm going to do my best to make that my consistent time. So today, I'm going to be, and before I dig in, anyone watching, can you just say hi to me? Say hi in the comments or give me some thumbs up or some love so I know you can hear me. Okay, thank you so much, Michelle. Awesome. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone who did that. I think that's who said that. Okay, so Caitlin, thank you. I can always count on you, my dear. All right. Hey, Michelle. All right, thank you for letting me know because sometimes I just never know if I'm talking to like thin air. Thanks, Laura. Hi. Hi, Caitlin. Okay. So today, I hope you guys got the announcements. Hey, Michelle, sleeping toddler on your lap. Okay, I'll try to be quiet so we don't wake him up. For those of you who just came in, every Monday through Friday, you can expect me now. The new time is 10 a.m. EST. Mondays and Wednesdays will be the baby sleep show where you call in. You know, you can see those things and actually talk to me like we did on Wednesday. The other days will be hashtag SleepQ, Q's and coffee, or the Monday question thread. Now, today I'm going to do the Monday question thread. So for those of you who don't know what that is, every Monday we post, all the noise, every Monday we post a thread. We open up a thread about a certain topic theme so we can just delve deeper with that idea and you can understand a lot more about that topic to fix it and learn more about sleep to get the help you need. So this week's topic thread is sleep training while your child is in your room, okay? So a lot of you asked questions about this. So before I dig in and pick some questions, as you know, I like to first give you a little background about this topic so you can understand why I'm explaining it the way I am and what my thoughts are. So number one, the telltale question. Everyone thinks, if I put my baby in a different room, my baby's going to sleep through the night. And oftentimes, yes, oftentimes a baby will wake up because they are stimulated from a mother's presence. They either hear the mother, or if you have a nursing baby and they're super close by, they smell your milk if you're walking by. So a lot of people think, well, goodness, if I put my baby in their own room, then they're going to sleep better. Sometimes that helps, but oftentimes if you've been following me in this group and you've watched our other videos, there's a lot more beneath the surface than just where your baby's sleeping. There's the routine, there's the sleep dependencies, there's all those things, okay? That's one way. Another reason parents opt to put their baby in their own room is because they wake up from the baby's noises. I will tell you with my own personal experience with my kids, I like my babies out of my room by 2 months, 3 months tops, because I wake up from every little noise they make. I hear every little sniffle, every little this, every little that, and I don't sleep well. But when push comes to shove, what is the ideal sleep environment when you are sleep training a baby? And remember, I'm only using the term sleep training because that's what people know it as, but I hate the word. Such a negative connotation. I don't mean sleep training. I mean teaching your baby positive experiences to learn to embrace sleep independently. So what is the ideal environment? What is the best place to have your baby learn to sleep? Can you keep your baby in your room and teach them to sleep? Is it really better if they're in their own room? How can you figure this out? Now, again, for all the reasons I just told you, sometimes people think that a baby will sleep better in their own room, which sometimes they do. Sometimes the parents want them in their own room. Number one, as I always encourage you to do, you gotta pick what works for you, right? Sometimes space is not an option, and sometimes you have other kids and you don't have another bedroom to put your baby in. Sometimes it's easier and more convenient for the mother if you're feeding a baby or nursing a baby, especially newborns, okay? You want to have your baby close by because gosh, it's so much easier to just get out of your bed and reach over and grab your baby than it is to get out of your bed, walk down the long hallway to where your baby's sleeping. So convenience-wise, you have to do what works for you, okay? So I'm just giving you practical ideas behind the sleeping space and where you have your baby. But what that means is it's almost irrelevant where your baby sleeps, okay? And I'm going to kind of like debunk some sleeping myths here. Everyone thinks that you cannot teach a baby to sleep when they're in the room with you, and it is simply not true. Ideally, in an ideal situation, if I could create the most ideal, conducive environment to teach a child to sleep, then I would prefer them being in their own room only for Xing out all the other things I just said. The mother doesn't wake up from the baby's noises. The baby doesn't wake up when your alarm clock goes off, all those different things. But technically speaking, you can still teach your baby how to sleep through the night and get qualitative sleep when your baby is still in your room with you, because it's all about convenience for you, number one. Hey, Lucy. And it's all about figuring out what your needs are and what your baby's needs are. Now, remember, teaching your baby to sleep, that's not what this thread is about. Watch all our other videos, but you got to make sure your baby's on a good routine. You have to figure out what their dependency is, what it is that they constantly need you to recreate for their environment for sleep, yada, 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 all those things. So, aside from that, whatever method you use or whatever you're doing, it has to feel good for you and it has to feel right for you. And if you really want to keep your baby in your room with you till your baby's a year or till your baby's a year and a half, whatever it is, go for it. That doesn't mean your baby cannot learn to sleep. I'm working with someone right now in one of my programs who has like an attached co-sleeper. Fine, guess what? We're still going to teach her baby to sleep through the night, and that's what works for her. So you don't feel like you ever have to make a certain sleep decision because that's what everybody says is the only way. Or you can never do that. Number one, as I always tell you, something is only a problem if you feel it is. And if you want to keep your baby in your room, keep your baby in your room. You can still teach your baby how to sleep. Any method that you're going to be using is only going to be as successful as you are confident in it and as much as you believe in it and as much as you feel like this is really what I want to do, that I'm not compromising. So that's really important. Now, in terms of practically speaking, how could you actually teach your baby how to sleep when your baby is still in your room if you opt to go down that road? Again, I prefer to keep a baby out of the room if it's possible and if you're comfortable with it, only because, like I said, you're not going to wake your baby up, your baby's not going to wake you up. Oftentimes you have like spouses in there that are making extra noise. Other kids sometimes come in the room. It's just technically a lot more of a technical, successful setup if you have a baby in another room. But if you keep your baby in your room, you can just enlist the same methods that you would if you're getting rid of a sleep dependency or if you're helping your baby with reassurance, whether it's verbal, whether it's physical, whether it's visual. And in some cases, if your baby does get very overstimulated, you can even make like a makeshift own room. I've been known with certain clients who literally don't have the space, we'll put up a curtain or one of those like fake little like IKEA folding thingies to make them feel like they're in their own room. But that way you can still be there for them if you don't have the space. Now, let's break it down by age. Newborns, I really actually recommend keeping in your room for convenience sake, like I just said. Newborns, oftentimes you have to work hard to reestablish their internal rhythms. Sometimes they're going to be up more initially, and it's just easy for you to get to them. So that way you can stick with whatever plan you're doing. Because if you have a baby that's a week old, 3 weeks old, 2 months old, sleeping down the hall, and your plan is to have them sleep in their own room, but gosh, you're up 1,000 times a night back and forth in the hall, baby might end up in your bed. Baby might end up with certain sleep dependencies that you previously wouldn't have encouraged because it's so inconvenient for you to walk all the way down the hall and you're so tired. So just to make sure you can stick with the plan, for little newborns, I recommend keeping them in your room just to make sure that whatever you're trying to incorporate with their sleep, you're going to be able to stick with so that you're not going to cave in the middle of the night when you're so tired. Number one. In between, let's say babies, 4 months to like a year and a half, it's a personal decision. I just told you why I really encourage you to put your baby in their own room if that's what you're comfortable with, just because you can kind of ensure that they're comfortable, ensure that they're not hearing you, you're not hearing them, and that whatever plan you're going to be is successful. But if you are gung-ho, want to keep your baby in your room, it's like philosophically what you believe in, or you don't have the space, it's also okay, and you can still teach your baby how to sleep well in your room. Now, once you're reaching the toddler years, 1.5, 2, they're starting to get a little bit more developmentally advanced, they're talking to you more, they're expressing themselves, they're getting angrier, they can climb out of their crib, or even, gosh, they're in a bed. At that point, if you are trying to enlist independent sleeping, at that point when they're getting into the toddler years, I do recommend very, very strongly, not as much like, yeah, if you want to, it's okay. I really strongly recommend putting them in their own room, because at that point, you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and have that mystical circumstance where your baby or your toddler magically ended up in your bed at 2 a.m. Like, how did that happen, right? They crawled into your bed while you were sleeping. You weren't able to stay consistent in the middle of the night because you were half asleep. And it's also more difficult for them. If you have a child that's in their own bed, not a crib, and you're in your own bed, then of course they're going to want to come sleep with you, and it's too enticing to not fall into that pattern of all of you just kind of co-sleeping. Now again, if you want bed sharing and a family bed, that's another situation. I'm talking about people who want to sleep in the parent's bed and have child sleeping in child's own bed, in own room, or in own sleeping space. And as a child gets older, it's a lot more difficult to have those physical barriers, and when they're in their own room, they can thrive a lot more because they have the boundaries very physically obvious that they can see cause and effect. My room, your room, my boundary, your boundary. And it's a lot easier to drive the point home, especially as they get older, when you're working a lot about behaviorally teaching them to stay put and lessening the power struggles. It makes it so much easier when they're in their own sleeping space, and it makes it pretty difficult and almost impossible if they remain in your room with you. Okay, so let's answer some of the questions that we have here. There's a lot of questions that were just hashtag sleep cue, which is great, but I want to stick with the ones in the forum. So if you have a hashtag sleep cue question that does not relate to sleep training or teaching a baby to sleep in your room versus another room, use it as a separate post and I'll try to come in and answer you, but I'm just sticking with the theme of the Monday question thread today. Okay, Stacy. My 8-month-old is still in my room. He wakes up 3 to 4 times a night. He nurses to sleep, and then I put him in a bassinet. He won't go to sleep if I put him in awake, and I would rather not do cry it out if I can find a way to not have to. Okay, so this is definitely important, and you have to make a game plan, Stacy, okay? So it's really important to understand that where your baby sleeps, especially for your 8-month-old, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant where they're sleeping, because of course your child's sleep environment is going to affect how they sleep. It's going to affect how you enlist things. But you have to have a game plan and a method, because it doesn't matter if your baby's sleeping in their own room, sleeping in your room, sleeping down the hall, or sleeping upside down hanging from the ceiling. If you don't have a consistent method that you're planning on using to get rid of the obvious dependency that your baby has on nursing, right? Your baby is nursing, doesn't fall asleep unless you are nursing or holding, and won't go down awake, then clearly there's a dependency on the nursing. Then you have to have a game plan. But I do recommend in the earlier phases of whatever you do, watch our bedtime battles video, Stacy. Watch our nighttime bottles, nighttime wake-ups, feedings video, because that will help you understand how to space that out and what you should do to get rid of that dependency. It's all about your choice. Typically when a baby is nursing so much at night, it is a little bit more convenient to keep them in your room short term, but it's not like you're married to one way or the other. You can teach your baby how to sleep in your own room and then transition them to being in their own room once they're waking up less. It's not like you have to decide for the next 20 years where your child's going to sleep. Do what feels right now, and you can always mold it and fine tune it and change it later on. Dana, I was just wondering this. Thank you so much. Okay, I don't know which one you were wondering. I've been talking for a few minutes, but if you have a specific question, Dana, about this, what we are talking about, our Monday question thread of sleep training in your room, let me know. Okay, let's see. Morel. Think we're going to buy a crib and do the sleep lady shuffle in his own room. Okay, this is talking more about specifically what she's doing, not a question about where. Carla. Let's see what Carla's question is. I co-sleep with my almost 8-month-old son. He's on a good schedule, sleeping every night from 8 p.m. to about 7:30 a.m. Wakes up about 4 a.m., again 6, and usually 7, then up for 7:30 or 8. He naps every day around 10, 1, and usually can't nap around 6, but I think he's soon going to nap 2 times a day. I want to transition him to sleeping him alone. What steps do I take on this? Good question. So let's say you're co-sleeping. Let's say, just like I told Stacy, she might keep her baby in her room to use a method, and then it's time to transition them into their own independent sleeping space, right? So how do you go about doing that? What do you do when it's time? And I see your question, Dana. I'm going to answer you in a minute. What do you do when you've finally figured out the sleeping situation and you want to start transitioning your baby into their own room? I wish I could invent the magical transitional potion that you can just make it easy and make it smooth. But when push comes to shove, if your baby's sleeping in your room or your baby is co-sleeping and you're suddenly putting them into their own room, it doesn't always work so magically that they're just going to say, oh, awesome, this is where I'm sleeping, Mom. Okay, fine, I'm totally fine with my new environment. Especially the older they get, the more sensitive and in tune they are with their sleep environment. So, of course, that's why I always recommend first teaching them how to sleep in a way that you're comfortable with so you can stick with it. In some cases, you don't have to have the baby in your room and you don't have to have the baby alone in their room. Sometimes when I'm working with moms, I'll have the mom move into the baby's room. So in such a case like this, who was it? Carla, it might be a good idea for you to actually camp out in the new independent room that you want your 8-month-old in with as much of your help and reassurance to get him, it's a boy, yes, get him acclimated to his new environment, to his new crib, or to his new sleeping space while you're there, and then you can help him a little less and face him off that dependency, but he's already familiar with his environment. And that's typically what I recommend doing whenever you're teaching a child to sleep in a new place, or if you're moving, or goodness, if you're traveling, or even if you're just trying to get a child into a new room when they're otherwise used to sleeping somewhere else. It's unfair to magically expect them to know this new place, right? I don't sleep well when I'm in a new bed or I'm in a new room. I wake up sometimes super disoriented, like, where am I? Babies are the same. They're no different. So you want to be mindful of that. You want to be fair of that. And you can kind of put yourself into the equation and help them more and get them comfortable. And only once you're confident that they're in a place of comfort with their new sleeping environment, then help phase yourself out a little bit more. Okay? Dana, I'm in a 1-bedroom basement. Let me see. I'll read your question better here. I'm in a 1-bedroom basement and she knows we share a room and she wakes up crying and staring at me. Okay, so Dana, this is a perfect example. Let me know, Dana, I'm assuming, do you want to move her into a different room? Even if you don't have one, pretend you had another room. Would you want her in another room, or do you love having her in your room with you? Let me know while I drink my coffee. So, space, right? So let's pretend I'm going to see what you answer me in a minute. But let's say, Dana, you really want your 8-month-old sleeping in a different room, but you just don't have the space for it. You are in a one-bedroom basement apartment, I assume, and you don't have another place. So there's a few different options. If you want to have her sleeping, you can enlist the idea I just outlined where you make a makeshift room for her. You can go out and buy those foldy IKEA kind of wall space things. Or you could literally get 2 hooks, a string, and a sheet, okay? And make her own room for her so she doesn't wake up staring at you with her eyes right there. You can try to put her in the main room if that's an option. If there's a living room or a little nook or a closet, I'm not saying to keep your babies in closets. Sometimes you have very big walk-in closets that are like bedrooms that you can get creative. But try to get creative. Yes, another room would be for her, but you don't have the room. Yeah. So try to do something to get creative to create a makeshift independent sleeping environment within the space that you're working with. Because if she's waking up and staring at you, it doesn't matter what you do because she knows you're right there. So aside from whatever method you're going to use to help her get over the dependency, if there is one, or if she's sleeping independently on her own, she just wakes up and stares at you, then you got to get that visual stimulation out of the picture by hanging something up as a barrier between the two of you, or by trying to rearrange the room in such a way where she's over there and you're over here, or bare minimum, if you can't, stay under the covers, you know what I mean? And just try to lightly shush and reassure, because the visual component of an 8, 9, 10-month-old, when they are just that's reality for them, especially when kids are right in that age of separation anxiety. When they see you, you exist, and when they don't see you, you don't exist. And aside, I'm not going to get talking to separation anxiety now. We'll do a separate question thread on that. But when a child sees you, it stimulates them and makes it so much more difficult for them to sleep. So you might have to figure out a situation where you can get creative and rearrange things in such a way. And if you can't, if you have zero room to hang up a sheet or hang up a curtain or move her bed further away or move your bed further away or stick up a dresser between you or whatever it is, then you're going to have to figure out what you can do to remain there without engaging too much. You might have to have your back to her, and you might have to lightly shush and stimulate her. But when you are looking at her and you are both having eye contact together, Dana, of course it's going to make her want to fight sleep because you are right there, she sees you, and you guys are engaging with your little situation of seeing one another. So let me know if that makes sense and that helps you. Let's see what Mai asked. Mai, is that how you say your name? Mai? Okay. My almost 10-month-old was up every hour when we recently shared a room at my parents' house. I'm presuming it was because we were in someplace new, wondering if we can do to make a makeshift thing here. He usually sleeps okay, not all the way through, not all the time, but definitely better at home. Just worried about when we have to share a room again. So it depends how often. Depends how often you are going away, right? Is this something where you're staying at your parents' house like every other week and it's consistent? Because if you're normally home and your child sleeps in their own independent sleeping space at home and they sleep well, but like once a month, once every few months you go away, so fine, you deal with it when you're away. And the goal is just to get right back into good sleeping habits when you get home. That's very similar to regressions. So watch our video on regressions. But if you are every other week at your parents and then your house and then your parents and your house, then you're going to have to figure something out. I'm working with someone now actually who travels every other week, and she goes away for the weekend every other week. And we got her baby sleeping like a champ while she was home. But when she started traveling, things really started to unravel. So we had to make a game plan to mirror as much of the same sleep environment when she was home while she was away. So maybe it's a good idea for you to create some kind of makeshift environment. Maybe it's a good idea for your baby to be able to have an independent sleeping space when you're away, if it's doable. Maybe it's a good idea for you to try to rearrange the room in a way where it's not like baby and you like right on top of each other, seeing each other, because it's a tease. It's a total tease for them when they see you and you are right there, but you are not helping them. Or they see you and you are right there and you're not giving them what they want, whether it's a bottle or it's a nursing or it's this. So of course you do it because gosh, I'm right there. So just try to take yourself out of the picture so you're no longer teasing them. Okay, does that make sense? That makes sense, Mai? Okay, let's see. Let me pick one more question here. And I know I didn't announce that I was coming in today, so I will tag you all. A lot of 8-month-olds here. There's like a theme in this in this thread today. There's a lot of 8, 9-month-olds. Here's a good question. Jillian. My 4-month-old and I share a room, and he starts in his crib at night and will sleep for about 2 hours, 8 to 10, wake up screaming. You feed him, he's not hungry. You want to figure out a way to keep him. Okay, so you end up bringing him into your bed with you and nursing him back to sleep. I want to figure out a way to keep him in his crib all night. He started to kick me, pull my hair. I don't really know where to start, but once he's in bed with me, he's waking up about 4 or 5 times a night and won't calm down without nursing. Yes, okay? I want to tell you something. It's very difficult, Jillian, to teach a baby how to weaken the association of nursing and sleeping when your baby is pressed up against your body. It's inevitable. You're going to nurse, you're half asleep, and your baby's right there in your bed with you. So it sounds like to me, your baby being in your room with you is actually a hindrance because your baby's right there. You just scoop your baby up and bring the baby into your bed. So in your case, it might be a really good idea to either move your baby into your baby's own room if you can. If you can't, due to space or you don't want to, then try to separate the two of you a little bit more so it's not so easy just to bring your baby into your bed. Okay, you want to do whatever you can that you'll stick with the plan. And in some cases, like I said, with newborns, in some cases that means actually keeping your baby in your room because it's easier. But for some people, it's more difficult because it's so easy that your baby's so close to just scoop them on up and bring them in. So Jillian, it might be a really great idea for you to try to make some separation that your baby's a little bit further away so you know that's your baby's sleeping space and this is my sleeping space. And it's in totally different realms of existence. And in where did my cough come from? Weird. Sorry, I didn't expect to have a cough all of a sudden out of nowhere. But it might make it a lot easier for you to stick with something and keep your baby in your own sleeping space, in his own sleeping space, because it's not as if you're both like on top of each other right there. Okay, every situation is obviously so different. Everyone has their own dynamics and their own homes in terms of space and what they feel is important and your parenting philosophy and of course your baby's sleep. But try to figure out what your goal is. Is your goal to ultimately have your baby in your room, to have your baby in their own room? What are your steps to getting there? Do you want to keep your baby in your room temporarily till you get the sleep rocking, then move your baby? Is it easier if you just move your baby altogether and then you kind of come into their sleeping space? There's a lot of different options, so you have to sit down and figure out what your goals are and what game plan, excuse me, you want to make to get there. Thank you. Okay, no, my pleasure. All right, so that is that. Just to recap the announcements I said earlier. Number 1, Monday through Friday, I will be here at 10 a.m. EST in the group. I can't say I promise every day because it depends. Some things happen, carpool, kids forget to lunch, whatever. Most days, okay? And Mondays and Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. will be the baby sleep show. So if you want to call in and talk to me and we can hash out questions, we do that. Hashtag SleepQ, Q's and coffee. When you use hashtag SleepQ in a separate post, I look for those, and that's what I come in. I will answer those. And then we have our Monday question threads, okay? So stay tuned. Have an amazing weekend. Today is Friday. I hope you enjoy your family in Michigan. I don't know how many of you live in Michigan. I live in Detroit, and it is insane. It was gorgeous, beautiful weather all week, like seriously starting to get up in the 50s. My kids were out riding bikes. I was like, spring is here. Total blizzard yesterday. Totally shot me down. I'm like, I was ready for spring and sunshine, so I don't know about any of you. But I'm hoping it will not be such a freezing cold weekend. UK here, all right, I don't know what the weather's like there. But in any case, have a great weekend. Try to figure out what you ideally want with your sleeping space and then make a game plan to do it. Use the ideas here and try to really figure out the best way possible to move forward with your sleep, because it's about balancing what you want and what your goal is, but obviously what's important to you and what you want to compromise on and don't want to compromise on. And no one can make that decision for you but you. You are the parent of your child, and therefore you are the authority of what works for your family, okay? If you want to talk with me a little bit more, we did open up a few slots still we have for next week. So if you want to chat with me, or you'll chat with Jen, who's my right-hand coach, learn a little bit more about teaching your baby to sleep, what you can do, what working with me would like, and actually fixing your sleep, click that link that I'll put in a few minutes. Check it out. And I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to help you get to sleep. Bare minimum, at least push you in the right direction so you know what road to go down. All right? Have a great weekend, everyone. See you later.